hunter, a warrior. This is my destiny.
I'm Robert Leavines, from coast to coast, from the North Pole to Mexico. I am going to travel this continent in search of taking one of every male big game species with just my bow. Yes. It's the greatest achievement an archer can earn in all of North America. Join me, Robert Leavines, in my journey, my quest, my archery quest. I'm from a small town in Louisiana called Alexandria, and it's located right in the center of the state. It's a great, fun little town. It's where I grew up and it's where I learned to hunt. My dad owns a real estate business, and I go in and clean them all up. We gut them, repaint them, clean them. Anything that has to do with renovating them, we do it. We fix it up for the next renter to move in. We rent out to low-income people. And when I'm not working for my dad, I work at the local archery store in my hometown as a bow technician. My lifelong dream has always been to harvest the North American Super Slam, which is the successful harvesting of one of each 29 big game species on the North American continent. And so for the past few years, working 2 jobs, I've been saving every penny that I'd ever earned just to complete this lifelong goal. My Uncle Pat, for the first time when I was 6 years old, took me hunting in Tullis, Louisiana, and I took to it immediately. I was captivated. I never put it down, and that's where I really learned how to hunt. And it was through this first experience that I really developed a passion for archery. 90% of everything that I know about hunting, I learned from watching him growing up.
Newfoundland is an island in the northeast Atlantic Ocean, and it's home to 3 of North America's big game species: woodland caribou, the black bear, and Canadian moose.
It's full of lakes, rivers, streams, creeks, waterfalls, just water everywhere you can look. It's got barren grounds, rolling hills, it's got cut over timber, and it's the only place on the planet that you can find the woodland caribou.
About 3 hours ago, we're in Houston, Texas. We're about to fly to Toronto, and from there, we've got to catch a flight to Newfoundland, which we will be flying all throughout the night.
After more than 24 hours of travel, the crew finally arrives in Newfoundland.
I flew from Alexandria to Houston, from Houston to Toronto, and then from Toronto to Deer Lake. It was so good to finally be in Newfoundland, Canada, knowing that I had a week to cross off 3 of my North American Super Slam animals. I was hunting with Ray's Hunting and Fishing Lodge, one of the premier outfitters in Newfoundland, Canada. When I showed up at Ray's Hunting and Fishing Lodge, I was really impressed. With more than 8,000 square foot of living accommodations, it was very spacious and very comfortable. And the greatest part about it all was they were home to some of the best moose, caribou, and black bear hunting in all of Newfoundland. I was home away from home. Finally made it. It's about 36 hours of travel, but we're here and we got a whole week. October is Breast Cancer Awareness Month, and my grandmother 5 years ago was diagnosed with breast cancer, and she battled with it for a season of her life before she overcame it. I wanted to honor my grandma and really all those who have or have had breast cancer So I took my Matthews Z7 Extreme and I brought it to Steve Davison at Bentley Hydrographics, and he did the water transfer printing on this bow for me, and it really turned out better than I could have ever imagined it.
First day of the hunt, here we go, Newfoundland, Canada.
It was the first day of the hunt, and Robert headed out with his guide, Scott Broughton.
He was just a nice, easygoing guy. Laughed, joked, just an all-around great guy to be around for 7 days in Newfoundland. And the best part about him was he had been doing this for so long. He knew the area of the land. We were hunting on 2,000 square miles.
Glassing is the key. Lots of glass.
He knew what it took to get a client into archery range, and that's what really makes a successful outfitter.
We provide 3 hunts here in the fall. We provide a moose, spot and stock. We provide caribou, spot and stock, and we also provide black bear, spot and stock.
First day, Scott says, hey, look, man, we're gonna go and we're gonna set up a call and see if we can't get some moose to come in. And we're crossing creeks and crushing ice, and just snow is just everywhere. It's very, very cold.
I'm gonna get up a little bit higher. Their tendency is to come in downwind, and 9 times out of 10, they'll use this natural funnel.
We set up the call for about 30 minutes. Nothing ever shows. He comes back, he says, hey man, we're gonna go up and get up on the summit, which is the highest point in these barren grounds.
The temperature continues to drop closer to 0 degrees Fahrenheit, and the high winds make the already hilly terrain that much more challenging.
We get up high, look for the animals, gauge them with good optics, a spot and scope or great binoculars. Say, this is the animal that we're interested in, this is one we're going to go after, and we go ahead and do that.
We had made it up to the summit, and we had spotted this caribou off in the distance, and out of nowhere, this storm comes rolling in, and we can't see anything. And when we get up there, the wind is so strong, you have to hold yourself onto the side of the summit climbing up, because it will literally take you off.
An unexpected snowstorm suddenly blows in, forcing Robert and Scott to seek shelter from the stinging snowfall.
We caught up in a little snowstorm here. Can't really do nothing. We got moose and caribou spotted on the other side of this mountain over here, but we can't see nothing with all the snow. It's about 10 degrees with the wind chill. It's probably negative digits, so we're just gonna camp out behind this bush till the snow passes.
It was one of the worst pains I'd ever been in my life.
It's 0 degrees, wind blowing 30 miles an hour, stuck in a snowstorm.
I could not feel my fingers. My face was solid froze.
I don't know what else to do but sit here and thaw out.
I was ready to just give up, ready to go back to the camp.
It's the second day of the hunt, and at daybreak, Robert and Scott head back into the field.
Wasn't a whole lot moving. It was just really a tough day of hunting. We probably walked about 5 miles before we finally even got to the spot where we were gonna even start looking for moose.
We're gonna move back this way a little bit. We're gonna set you up with the collar. I'm gonna get up high on this ridge. I'll be able to cover all this area.
Scott had climbed up on a tall mountain, and it wasn't long when he came down, he said, hey, there's a moose. And we finally get down within about 300 yards of this moose. Scott had the horns, the plywood horns, and he was conning this moose to come out.
The snow was falling heavily, and the temperatures were below 0.
He starts easing closer and easing closer. And here it is, the second day of the hunt. My heart is pounding. I can barely catch my breath. The wind is blowing. Snow is everywhere. And I knew this right here could be my moment that I've been waiting for.
Robert goes to get an arrow when he realizes that something was wrong.
And I noticed that my arrow rest had been knocked off. It was real loose. The screw had been backed out. I don't know what happened. Just somewhere along the lines, it malfunctioned.
At only 40 yards away, this bull presents a great shot.
And there's nothing I can do. I look at my cameraman and tell him, hey, I can't do anything. The bow is no longer paper tuned. I have no idea where this arrow is gonna fly. All I could do is just sit and watch that bull walk away.
It was a huge disappointment for Robert. The ever-changing weather conditions in Newfoundland brought about great challenge. The now raining conditions gradually passed.
All right, y'all, last night on the way back in, I noticed the bolt right here on my QAD arrow rest was real loose. I tightened it back down, haven't had a chance to shoot it, so I brought out my other bow, my Matthews Helium.
And we went back out to the barren grounds, trying to hunt some caribou.
The high winds were relentless.
And after looking for a while, we did spot a group of 5 or 6, and Scott said, hey, we got a little bit of cover and we may be able to make this work. So once we spotted them out, we walked probably 200 yards on foot, and then from there, we had to low crawl. We started creeping and creeping down, and we were inching our way closer and closer. And we got to about 75 yards.
Every step Scott and Robert made had to be carefully placed.
I was turned to my left, hoping that they were gonna come this way, but they didn't. And one female started going out to the right, and the rest of the group followed them. And I could not get turned without spooking them. I was going to take this woodland caribou. He wasn't a monster, he wasn't a trophy, but in these weather conditions with a bow, any animal's a trophy.
Shortly afterwards, this herd of caribou got downwind of them and took off.
Golly, that was so close, man.
That really concluded that day of hunting.
The start of the next day was breathtaking.
Could not have asked for any better weather. My guide Scott came in, he was excited to go. He said, man, this is the best day of hunting we've had, and it's gonna be great. Instantly, we got out there, walked several miles, got up on the side of this mountain. He said, look, y'all set up right here, y'all glass the low country. I'm gonna go up to the tip top of this mountain, and I'm gonna glass far, far away. What we're doing, we're gonna make us a little fire. Then we're gonna go up on top of these ridges and glass, but we gotta have a place to come back down and warm up to. Up there, the wind is brutal. It's brutal right here. We built a little fire, started glassing, and about 30 minutes later, he comes running down this mountain.
Get up high, over and assess the caribou and the bear.
I got good news and I got bad news. I got a bear spotted down here about 3 miles. Beyond them, about a mile, is some caribou. He said the bad news is if the caribou smell the bear, they're gonna leave, and the bear is gonna go after them.
Made the decision to go in and try to get a stock on that animal.
Got within about 300 yards, this bear is feeding on the berries, perfect wind.
With very little cover, Robert and Scott carefully make their way towards this boar.
One of the benefits of black bear, they've got a low profile, especially when they're feeding, their head is always close to the ground. Even though it's open, we use the terrain to maneuver, get down in these low dips, do whatever it takes, don't rush it.
And we start walking, and finally we get to that rock about 20 yards from the rock, and Scott drops to his knees and says, hey, he's right there behind the rock. My heart was pounding. I was out of breath from walking several miles to get over there, but I knew I had to pull it all together because this was gonna be the only chance. To see a bear in October is very, very rare because they're starting to go into hibernation. And I knew if I blew this opportunity, I wouldn't get another chance.
Clueless of Robert's presence, the bear continues to feed.
I had to make this shot work.
Robert draws,
I put my 40-yard pin on him.
aims, and lets one fly.
My heart was pounding. I was out of breath from walking several miles to get over there. But I knew I had to pull it all together because this was gonna be the only chance. To see a bear in October is very, very rare because they're starting to go into hibernation. And I knew if I blew this opportunity, I wouldn't get another chance. I drew that bow back. I put my 40-yard pin on him, and I let that Grim Reaper fly. I drew that Matthews Helium back and shot him at 42 yards, quartering away. Kind of went in, kind of back, but when it came out, it was right through the pump house, and he may have ran 80 yards and fell over.
Derek, you had to come and roll it. Yeah, tell me you had to come and roll it. Yeah, baby. We stalked that thing for 3 miles over there. Scott was bedded up on top of a mountain ridge.
My heart was pounding. I was out of breath from walking several miles to get over there. Shot him at 42 yards. We're walking up to him, and here I am thinking, wow, I finally get to put my hands on this bear.
As they got close to this boar, they realized just what a prized trophy he was.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Scott.
Excellent shoot.
My God.
After I'd shot that animal, I was sitting there with Scott, and I was like, wow, you know, this really gives me motivation for the rest of the week.
What a hunt, man.
Good job. Excellent
Thank
shoot.
you.
All of a sudden, Scott says, hey, man, we still got caribou a mile over this ridge up here. Let's go see if we can't get up on them.
If I can get them to go within shot range, okay?
All right. Perfect. Let's go, Derek.
Scott says, hey, look, man, this is on you and Derek. I'm gonna sit back here. I'm gonna try to do a little calling, see if I can't get them in close. If you can make it to this bush, I got a great feeling that you're gonna get a shot at this caribou.
I moved back further and created a visual diversion. It was a bit windy there.
Start easing down, trying to get a little lower, and boom, we spot one down by this lake, kind of feeding. We start easing and easing down there, watching him, making sure he's not seeing us going down this ridge.
We got a caribou coming up the ridge right at us. The wind's not great, but we gotta see what we can work with.
This caribou bull makes its way from behind the bush.
Wind was blowing in such a manner that as the caribou approached Robert, there would be definitely a time when that wind would be blowing directly to the caribou, and it was at a point where that caribou needed to be where Robert's scent was blowing downwind for Robert to make a perfect broadside shot.
And we finally get into position. I'm ranging all these different areas that I'm hoping that he's gonna walk. And sure enough, he walks right past this one little area that I had ranged at 55 yards. Once we finally got behind this bush, we got in position, I threw up my Swarovski optics, and I could tell, I said, wow, man, this bull is really nice. He's got big double shovels, nice bears, decent tops. This is definitely a shooter caribou.
The bull continues to graze along the berry patches, giving Robert a great view.
I drew my bow back while he was still walking, praying that he would stop and give me the perfect shot opportunity. And I let that Grim Reaper fly.
Drilled him, baby.
Didn't at first see the shot and thought that he might have gotten the wind of Robert and put my binoculars up, and that's when I noticed Robert had indeed made a great shot on him. That was a little over 50 yards.
Once I saw that Grim Reaper slice through him, he runs about 60 yards, starts spinning around, boom, done.
Yeah. Woo!
When Scott finally came down the ridge, man,
Oh, yeah. Yeah, baby. Did you see that?
the excitement was,
You got him in, man.
I can't even explain it.
Yeah, man. Give me a hug. Oh, God.
When I finally got down there and I was holding those horns in my hands, I felt so privileged that, you know, we had harvested 2 big game species within 1 hour of each other.
Oh, woodland caribou, man.
Great definition.
Look at the palms. Look at the bears. Good points. My gosh, 55 yards.
Knowing that I had a few days left to just concentrate on moose, I knew I had a great chance at harvesting the Newfoundland Slam.
Gave him the old bag trick, snorting and grunting. Came right in, 55 yards. Put him down with a Grim Reaper broadhead. Golly.
That's the way
Thank you. Thank you. What an awesome, awesome time.
When I finally got down there and I was holding those horns in my hands, I felt so privileged that, you know, we had harvested 2 big game species within 1 hour of each other. And knowing that I had a few days left to just concentrate on moose, I knew I had a great chance at harvesting the Newfoundland Slam.
It's a brand new day at the lodge, and an entire week has almost gone by. It's the last day, and Robert understands that though he has taken 2 of the 3 on the Grand Slam list, this is the day that he would have to make it all happen.
This is the last tag I have. Canadian moose, last day of the hunt. if we get this Newfoundland Slam, nobody else has ever done it.
Another guide has joined the team this day, as the expectations of filling this moose tag is very high.
Chris Duffett, one of Scott's cousins, who is also a guide there at Ray's Hunting and Fishing Lodge, and he said, hey, y'all mind if I come with y'all? Sure, the more eyes, the better. 2 days earlier, Chris and his client had successfully taken a Canadian moose in an area, and Scott wanted to go and check this out because Chris told us that there was another bull with about 9 cows in there with him.
It wasn't very long into the walk before Scott spots a herd of moose very far away.
We spot these moose first light on the side of a ridge.
They had to move quickly before the herd moved away.
And Scott says, hey, we have very little time. We need to get up there before they move off.
So they decided to make the 45-minute walk towards them.
So we take off on foot, get up there within striking distance, you know, within about 200 yards, and he pulls out the plywood horn.
They knew we were there, and we put up those antlers, and we maintained a single profile.
Using the wooden horns to make the moose curious, Scott edged towards this herd, Robert following close behind.
Making our way a little closer. We get to about 80 yards and Scott just stops and this moose starts easing right into us. He didn't want any part of us being there.
And when you mimic that species, you got a real good chance of being successful at close range.
Scott turns after this bull had stepped broadside into open at 50 yards. He turned and looked at me and he said, hey man, let him have it. My heart is pounding knowing that this was my chance.
Robert makes a perfect shot at this moose.
And it was just an awesome feeling knowing that that bull was not going to be very far.
Robert made an excellent shot. The moose ran off. We knew we had a great shot on him.
Dick, Newfoundland Slam, man.
It's an overwhelming end to an unbelievable week.
And one of the coolest things about it was that arrow went through and through that 1,200-pound bull moose at 50 yards with a Grim Reaper razor tip broadhead.
Just found this arrow and it went straight through a 1,200-pound moose. This week here in Newfoundland, shot a bear, a caribou, and a moose.
And I've never been more impressed with a broadhead in all my life. We finally get up to this bull.
Look at the size of this moose, man.
And he is monstrous.
Yeah.
What a big animal, eh?
What an awesome bull, man.
You know, after spending the whole week with Scott and getting to know him,
Good job, buddy.
Thank you, Scott.
Great job.
Thank you so much.
sometimes it's not all about the hunt, but about the friends you made and the memories that will last a lifetime.
Yeah, yeah, man.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much, Derek. Thank you, buddy.
Newfoundland was a blast. Completing the Grand Slam was humongous. But it's also nice to get home to your hometown with your friends and your family.
That's right. Jay made this one, and it is so good.
It just reminded me of where I was 20 years ago when my uncle took me for my very, very first time and passed down the tradition to me on how to hunt. An awesome experience to be back in my hometown of Alexandria where I grew up.